They're just frequencies, dude. Man-made frequencies. That's it.
No! No, 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 no! No! Not this fucking time! No fucking way! No fucking way! No fucking way! No fucking way!
Let's talk about the last video and what was documented as physical vibration, otherwise known as sound, entering our homes via electronics and the electrical grid. I stated in the last video, and need to state again, that this does not need to originate from the grid. It can and does piggyback on the grid. I have documented this for years. However, I have never documented this so clearly until I finished the SWAT rat. In the past, I have stated that this is old technology. The voices in the audio only speak negatively, and you can hear it in the audio I have collected over the years. Voices that say, "You killed my wife," and other negative statements. Let's loop it for a minute. Along with voices that speak about surveillance. For example, I was watching a video/documentary about 9/11, and right afterward I picked up this AI voice stating September 11th. But like I said, this is not new technology. I want you to hear a case of a guy picking this audio up in the early 1990s while listening to headphones in bed. He is between awake and asleep, and then wakes up and stays still, and he can hear it. And he mistakenly takes this as something paranormal, but it aligns with everything that I've been telling you. It even lines up with the audio I have recorded in the past. Lines like, "We're coming through the walls," or "We're waiting outside," things like that. So let's get into this guy's experience.
I was younger and I was still living at home with my parents and my brothers, and I was listening to a cassette tape, and I just sort of fell asleep with my headphones on, and my stereo was like kind of right next to my bed, and I just fell asleep. And the next thing I know, I wake up because I'm hearing like an old time radio broadcast in the headphones. And there's no way this could have happened, because you had to flip a switch to even, go. You remember how old stereos are? You go off of cassette onto radio or whatever. And again, it just all of a sudden it's silent, and then I'm hearing this old time radio broadcast, and the voices that I heard were so neutral. The background noises, everything was very neutral. Like, there was no distinct accents to anything. It was almost like if you had a cookie cutter of what a human being is, absolutely middle of the road, mediocre, just a voice. They were talking about cataclysms and these terrible things happening in the world. And then this broadcaster is talking, and he says that he was trapped inside of a cave, and that he could not get out of this cave, and that, he was beginning to have near-death experiences, and he was upset. Something tragic and terrible was happening in this broadcast. Now, as this is happening, there's a part of me that realizes that this is absolutely wrong. Everything that I'm hearing is wrong. This is not supposed to be happening at all. It is not normal for that to happen. So I knew immediately that this was not some broadcast. This was something much, much worse. And it started saying things like, "We are coming through the walls. We are getting closer now." Kind of like this phase of ingratiation where something is presenting itself in such a way to traumatize you so that it can kind of sink its claws, push its way in and have you and make you obsess over it, make you think about it constantly.
So what he says at the end there, he was so close to figuring it out. It is trying to traumatize you. It is trying to do negative things, but it's not paranormal. These are transmissions, and he was picking these transmissions up. Now, a lot of times you can hear these transmissions between sleep and being awake, right at that stage. Or if you wake up and you don't move, people can hear them until they move, and they immediately stop. As soon as you move a muscle, an eyelid, anything, even move your eyeballs, it stops. So this was active in the early 1990s and before that. This is just documented from the early 1990s. This has been happening for decades. This isn't new. And when MIT and these other people come out and say that they have new technology, they are bullshitting you, or they have no idea. A lot of people were leaving comments on the last few videos, but who or what is doing this? Well, I've already gotten into that. I've already taken care of that. And some of these people aren't real and some of these people are real. I'm not going in loops like that. We've already talked about it. I have long videos on who and why. So we don't need to go back there, and I'm not going to be answering those questions anymore. I've done videos on that. It's covered. You can find them. You're a big boy or a big girl. You can search through my channel and find them. A lot of people are still asking, what can we do? What can we do? Well, if you want to keep this out of your house, it's in the air too. You have to realize that. So somebody was like, we got to be able to put something on the outlet to raise the vibration. I said in the last video that it doesn't matter where you record at. It is everywhere. It's not just the outlet. So just doing the outlet is not going to raise the vibration because it is not solely coming from the outlet or solely coming from the power grid. It is in the air. It is getting on everything at every point. And I even get into that in a video, which I will leave a link to below, that explains that it's getting into everything at every point in the air. However, you can minimize it by doing things like putting a whole power conditioner or filter, which I plan to do to my house at some point. So, there are ways that you can lessen this. But a lot of that comes down to doing the research yourself and not relying on people to do everything for you. Like, I can't pick out the power filter that you're going to use. And a lot of people are trying to kind of subvert this in a way, in a really underlying way, by saying, we need to raise the vibration. That's getting into that whole ascension psyop and raising the vibration. Look, the natural frequency of the earth is a ELF frequency. How are you going to raise the vibration when the natural frequency is like, 7.83 hertz? It's being corrupted. You need to really think about that before you start talking about just raising vibrations. We don't have natural gigahertz vibrations. The natural vibrations are ELF. They are low vibrations. So I don't know who came up with that whole thing, but it seems like they were up to something to me. I don't trust any of that. And I won't get into that kind of talk on this channel about raising vibrations ever. You'll never hear me talking about that unless something comes up that actually changes and I can see the change and see a difference. And I highly, highly doubt that. Now, I want to get back into this guy and his experiences in his home. It's important. If you'll notice here on the original interview, they always show these spooky images because it's supposed to be paranormal. Right? So you see these spooky images, and it is perfectly okay to present it like that to the masses, and they can digest it like that and digest it as paranormal all day, and it is totally cool. It's promoted on YouTube and other platforms, right? Everywhere. The paranormal and UFOs and aliens is promoted, but when you look at it realistically, that is not allowed. So the thing that is so suspect about this guy's experiences is that everything that he deals with, he realizes is electronic and artificial somehow. They either hear it or he intuitively knows that it's electronic or artificial, and yet he still seems to believe that it's paranormal. And I like the guy. I would probably like the guy a lot. However, he is just like one piece off from figuring this out. Let's listen to his story about him and his dad and his family sitting down to eat dinner one night. Here we go.
We sat down and we were eating this meal, and we heard footsteps upstairs. Clearly footsteps.
Now that's common. People hear that in their attic where something can't even walk, or they hear it on their roof. This is typical. You can take the pieces out and insert them into other stories, and they fit perfectly. This is common. Phony footsteps.
I just could not deny it. I mean, our dog was downstairs with us. I mean, everybody was downstairs on the main floor. We heard this laughing, and it's strange because it was almost like an electronic kind of laughing, like a robotic kind of laughing, but it had a very sinister sort of sound to it.
An electronic, robotic kind of laughing. Probably a pulsed communication. Come on, man. Who cannot figure this out? And this was a long, long time ago. Let's think about this. Use your heads. Use your heads. I've got this type of laughing recorded. And it is not real. It is not a demon. It is not a spooky spook. I'm going to play it for you right now. And then the spooky demon said something here. And I continued to walk out of the house. Let's listen to a version where a lot of the low end and other frequencies have been taken out. Let's check that out. So I caught the exact same type of mechanical laughter, and it was not real. It was artificial. The same way he describes it almost sounds like an old 70s laugh box that my grandfather would have, something like that. It took a big D battery, and when you push the button it would laugh for like 2 minutes and then stop. But it's a lower pitch, so it sounds more evil sounding, right? But it's totally and completely fake. It's artificial, and I believe him, but it's artificial. It's not paranormal. Let's keep going.
And, you know, and this robotic voice thing pops up a lot in these experiences.
This robotic voice thing pops up a lot in these experiences because they are artificial. Artificial.
That I've had. But I remember when that laughter came downstairs from the upstairs and the way that it traveled, it just shook him. It terrorized him. He had this look of absolute fear on his face, to the point, I mean, you couldn't heighten anybody's fear any more than that. That
happened to us quite a few times in my life, and it always sounded artificial. And I'm going to tell you now, one time it actually came through a baby monitor, and my dad had heard it, and he was like, man, this ominous voice came through the baby monitor, and he was like kind of laughing about it, but I had just gone to the store, so I didn't hear it. And he said I couldn't tell what it was saying, but it was saying something, so he had to go up and check on the baby. And of course, there was nothing there because it wasn't real, so this thing was seeping into the electronics as well. This is not real. This is artificial. And just like he said in the original clip, it is made to traumatize you, to get you thinking about it, so that it is on your mind, so that it can ramp up, so that you're paying attention. When you're paying attention, you are sensitized to it. If you're not paying attention, nothing will happen. So that's where that whole, if you don't pay attention to it, it goes away thing comes from, because it's kind of true. Because you have to be hyper vigilant, hyper alert to be paying attention to this kind of stuff. However, there is a middle ground where you acknowledge it exists and you are there documenting it, but you know that it isn't ghosts or ghoulies or demons or things coming for you. You know, there are ways to do it. Now, I want to put the nail in this coffin once and for all about the signal and how it operates and what's going on and who hears it and who doesn't. I just recently put out a video called 32 Minutes with Look Out for Charlie, where I get into how you don't need the SWAT rat to just record sounds, how you can record it with a normal USB recorder. And I showed that I was working on a case with somebody who was in an office, and the office was bombarded with these sounds all day, and it's documented. You can hear it in the actual video, in the recordings. It's obvious. So after I put out that video, I got this comment here that says, if so, what is the purpose of bombarding this ordinary office lady with sounds? She is not a politician, nor someone in a position of power and decision maker who can influence and have impact on a large segment of the population. It's almost as if these people are not listening to me. This signal is everywhere. Now let's start with the beginning. If so, what is the purpose of bombarding this ordinary office lady with sounds? Everybody that was worked on in MK Ultra were ordinary people. They don't bombard people from the higher echelons of the government or whatever. That's usually not the case. It's usually the other way around because they don't have the power to fight it. If this comment is real, it's like they're not listening to what I am saying, or they are purposely blocking out other things that I talk about. This signal is everywhere, everywhere. And in some cases, like I said in the video, you do not have to be specifically targeted to hear it, and that is what becomes generally a artificial haunting. Now, are there artificial hauntings that are intentional? Yes, but the signal is everywhere, and I've talked about this in the past. In a lot of these cases, the signal is creating a perfect storm in the home or the office or wherever it is, and that can have to do with acoustics of the home and creating what I call a band shell syndrome, where it is echoing and reverberating through the home or through the office, through the workplace, or wherever it is. It can echo and reverberate through there just because of circumstance. Another perfect storm thing could be a grounding issue with something and it's transducing. Plumbing. A room with lots of tile, like a bathroom, can be like the worst spot, like where somebody always hears things, because it is reverberating through those areas. There are certain things in homes that create this perfect storm or this band shell syndrome where you can hear it more than you normally would anywhere else. And that's why it happens. See, these people want to make it sound like it's this bombarding an ordinary office lady with sounds when the sound is everywhere. They are missing the entire point. And if you understand that, then you begin to understand how this works. You can have this signal, let's say, it's covering everywhere, but let's say it's covering 3 square miles. But only 3 of those areas really reverberate this sound, right? And those 3 areas get known as haunted locations, where these mysterious things happen. This is the same thing. It can be intentional, or it can be a total perfect storm scenario. So let's put that to bed from here out. And from here out, I'm going to guide people to this video when they bring up that kind of thing, because this is not always an intentional thing. Sometimes these artificial hauntings and things are by mistake. Sometimes people are chosen to be experimented on. Sometimes it just happens. We need to realize that. But it is everywhere. The signal is everywhere, and that's why people can't get away from it. It's not like they're beaming and following somebody with a beam, someone that hears it all the time. They are only walking within the field and can always hear it. It's very, very easy to understand when you look at it like that, and when you understand how it is actually operating. You know, I've talked about how this subverts the mental health industry, how this subverts all kinds of different industries that are making huge amounts of money off this kind of stuff. But imagine driving people out of homes. You have to realize that they are driving people out of homes with this technology as well, because these people believe that their houses are haunted or demon possessed or whatever. They're bad juju. And people are making a lot of money off it, and a lot of people are being left destitute of something that isn't real, that is being fabricated with technology. And I've shown you the examples of that in this video. They are there. The proof is there. You can hear it with your own ears, and it is artificial. So you need to realize that. People need to realize that and realize the signal is everywhere. And we can't waste time going back and answering those questions over and over when it's the wrong question. You know, it's like putting a radio station out, let's say 94.7 FM, and people are wondering why a certain radio is picking it up. You know, because it's a field. Because it's a field and it's being picked up. It's not the right question. In fact, it's beginning to be a borderline dumb question with all the info that's on this channel. But keep your head in the right place, and knowing about this can save your life. That is the purpose of this. It can save your life, save your property, save people from becoming destitute, or save people from believing that they are mentally ill. That is the point. This is not about fear-mongering. This is not fear porn. This is about awareness. If you are aware of it and you realize it isn't real, these things cannot happen to you. And that's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
Come on, do Nazi stuff.
Look out for Charlie.